The story begins as hissing and growling erupt near the bayou water. Something large lurks just below the surface. Then a New Orleans street band breaks into a march, and two women celebrate loudly in the crowd. Sistine returns late to her sister Hannah. Having stopped at the bar, she hands Hannah a gift, and they do their toast. However, Hannah's phone rings mid-celebration. Her boss, Mr. Stone, calls, refusing to respect her approved vacation. She defends every extra hour she worked for this trip. He fires her anyway. Meanwhile, Rodrigo, a cheerful local tour guide, has already booked both sisters onto an alligator bayou tour. Sistine paid for Hannah without asking. Hannah tries to bow out, but Rodrigo tells her it is already done. Back with the sisters, Sistine drops the surprise, and Hannah admits she just got fired. Sistine refuses to cancel the trip, insisting Hannah always figures things out. They toast to gators and agree to go. The next morning, Rodrigo boards his tour group one by one. Sistine introduces herself and a very hungover Hannah to everyone. Sally, Tim, and their teenage son Mike climb on board first. Then Dion Edwards, a sharp businesswoman stuck in New Orleans on a work trip, boards last. She tells them to call her Dee and settles in. Rodrigo gets everyone seated, and the boat heads into the bayou. Things take a wild turn, as Rodrigo announces the boat leaves in 30 minutes. Hannah is stunned to learn he is the captain too. She and Sistine take photos outside to kill time. Then Sistine spots a massive skull inside the shop. Jose, the owner of Gator Joe's, a hunter who caught the skull in Africa, steps in. Jose says hippos kill over 500 people a year. He stresses they kill for fun, not food. He tells the group it is a hippopotamus skull and the deadliest animal on Earth. Jose is disgusted. He then tells them Louisiana nearly imported hippos a century ago as a meat replacement. Sally asks to photograph the skull, so Jose demands $5. He waves it off and lets her take it free. Back at the boat, Mike sits next to Sistine. Tim tells his son their mom would have loved this trip. Dion boards last and stumbles, but Tim's family helps her settle in. Rodrigo warns the group to keep arms inside the boat at all times. He then promises a special stop to see Big Ben, a gator over 12 feet long. The boat launches and the group spots raccoons on the bank. Dion asks when they will finally see the big one. Fast forward, Rodrigo tosses marshmallows into the water to lure Big Ben. Big Ben's GPS tracker places him directly under the boat. He explains gators mistake them for eggs. Nothing takes the bait, so Rodrigo switches to raw chicken. Mike then fakes a gator lunge, and the whole group screams. Just a joke. But Hannah is on edge, and nobody finds it funny for long. Then Sistine spots something large nearby, and the beeping on the tracker spikes. The group finds a half-eaten animal carcass floating beside the boat. Something enormous killed it. Rodrigo wants to leave, but Dion demands a photo and refuses to move. Tim steps in and orders Rodrigo to get everyone away immediately. Rodrigo radios their position, 4 miles off the normal route. But before they can move, Big Ben slams the hull from below. He hits again, and passengers fall into the water screaming. Everyone claws back onto the boat, but Rodrigo is now in the water. The group reaches for Rodrigo, but Big Ben pulls him under. Big Ben then crashes the boat again, leaving one passenger bleeding badly. Tim calls for everyone to stay together as Hannah heads for a nearby tree. The situation spirals, as Tim orders everyone to stick together. He tells Sally and Mikey to climb the tree as high as they can. Then Hannah steps up, announcing she is a nurse. She checks Rodrigo and says the wound missed his artery, but he is losing blood fast. She needs hot metal now to seal the wound. Mikey dives into the water and retrieves the flare box. He got it. Hannah heats the knife blade using the flare until it glows. Rodrigo screams as Hannah presses the blade into his wound to seal it. The group shouts for help in every direction, but nobody answers. Rodrigo comes around and tells them the gator was big and gray, with teeth big enough to need a 10-inch tooth to cause his wound. He then says they are off course, but the GPS tracker logged their last position, so base will know where to look. But rescue will not come until the boss closes at 7 p.m., leaving them 5 more hours to wait. Tim warns they cannot survive out here after dark. He organizes everyone to gather food and water like Apollo 13. Then thunder rolls in, cutting their time short. Dion darkly jokes about flying piranhas and what else Gator Joe throws. In on the tour, 3 hours pass, and Hannah tells Tim that Rodrigo is getting weaker. She warns he may have sepsis and needs a hospital immediately. Tim sends Sally to rest and takes over watching Rodrigo himself. Then a deep animal grunt echoes across the bayou. Sistine tells Hannah she feels disgusting in the heat. Hannah admits she is not handling it as well as she looks. The reckoning comes, as Sistine admits she is not handling this well either. Hannah climbs out to splash water on her face, a small act keeping her going. Then Tim hands out food and drinks to the whole group. Mike asks what happens if Big Ben comes back before rescue arrives. He promises Mike they are safe, as long as nobody enters the water. Tim then loses his composure slightly when asked about his wife. She fought for a long time, he says, but they lost her. He is a retired New York City firefighter, which explains his steady nerve. Sistine tells Hannah she noticed something was off before the trip even started. Hannah finally breaks, confessing she has been paying off their mother's medical bills. She is about to lose her house and feels like a complete failure. Hannah sobs. Sistine refuses to let her spiral and points out they survived a gator attack together. Hannah laughs through her tears. Then the water bubbles, and Big Ben is back. Tim shouts for Mike and Sally to climb as high as they can. A branch snaps and both Sally and Mikey fall, forcing Tim to catch them. Tim hauls Sistine out of the water before Big Ben can grab her. Then Big Ben smashes the group's position, and Hannah is knocked into the bayou. Tim directs Hannah to swim under the nearby bridge so he can pull her up. Hannah screams that Big Ben is right beneath her and she cannot reach Tim. Mikey begs his father not to jump in, but Tim tells Hannah she can do it. But then, Tim urges Hannah to keep swimming from the water. She reaches the surface, but the group erupts in screams and sobs. Hannah does not make it back to the boat. Sistine prays aloud, begging God to get her out. She cannot move. Back at Gator Joe's, Jose finds Rodrigo is 5 hours late and his tracker is off. He decides to go find them himself. Meanwhile, Sally tends to Sistine's injured arm on the boat. Sistine blames herself for Hannah falling in. She calls Tim brave, but adds he was the good kind of stupid. Jose arrives and finds the survivors with Rodrigo badly hurt. He gives Rodrigo water, but confirms no rescue team is coming. Mike suggests ringing the boat with fire to signal for help. Tim's plan calls for someone to dive under and check the tracker. Rodrigo cannot swim and already has a tusk wound. Sistine volunteers to go in herself. The betrayal cuts deep as Sistine agrees to dive under the Hippo-filled boat alone. Rodrigo walks her through the task. Find the red lockbox. Use the key, grab the tracker phone. He is already wounded and cannot swim himself. The group tells Sistine Hippo's fear fire, buying her a narrow window before the fuel runs out. She goes under. Beneath the boat, Sistine suddenly screams, overwhelmed by grief for Hannah while completely submerged. She surfaces sobbing, apologizing to her lost sister out loud. Then Sistine bangs the hull, signaling she has the phone and needs out. She surfaces with the phone, but Rodrigo finds the water damage shut it off completely. Dion dries it off and blows on it desperately. The phone reboots. There is no cell signal, so Dion activates the GPS instead. She gets it done, and now all they can do is wait. Far away, someone spots the GPS ping and starts an engine, heading their way. The plot thickens as the group spots a passing rescue boat and screams wildly. Mike, Rodrigo, Sistine, and the others wave and shout together, but the boat's engine sputters and dies before reaching them. Their one chance at rescue fails completely. Jose then arrives, rowing toward them, furious at what he sees. He demands to know what they did to his boat. Rodrigo tells Jose a hippo killed 2 guests and bit through his shoulder. Jose calls it impossible, but the wound on Rodrigo proves otherwise. So Jose and Mike drag Rodrigo up into the boat together. Mike calls up to Sistine, urging her to climb down safely. Then Dion refuses to board until she finds her shoes. She threatens Jose with lawsuits and blames him for everything. The argument turns physical and Dion falls screaming into the water. Sally tries to pull Dion out as the hippo surfaces nearby. Mike jumps in to help, but the hippo drags him under. Sally screams for Mikey, Jose orders everyone back into the trees to regroup and plan. He only has 2 tranq darts for a very large hippo. Rodrigo tells Jose he will not survive his wounds. Jose hands him a bottle as a quiet farewell. Jose tells the group the plan. They bait the hippo using themselves. Since hippos are territorial, entering its space will force it to attack. Meanwhile, Jose orders the group into the hippo's territory to force it to attack. Sistine suddenly notices Sally is gone from the boat. She has waded into the water toward the hippo, ignoring everyone. Sally keeps going deeper. Jose warns she is disappearing into the mist and too far to reach. Then the hippo charges and tears into the water, and screaming breaks out across the group. Someone screams to shoot it, but the chaos is total. When the attack ends, Rodrigo lies motionless, and Jose confirms he is dead. Sally is almost certainly dead too, but Jose spots the hippo is tranked and orders the group to splash at the waterline to distract it. Dion refuses to go anywhere near that water. Jose asks if she has kids, and Dion says she raised her stepkids for 9 years before her ex divorced her and took them. He tells Dion to fight to see them again. She steels herself and agrees. The distraction works, and the hippo starts to move. But the tranq wears off early, and the hippo charges straight at them. Everyone runs. Dion reaches the boat, screaming for Jose. Then Jose screams as the hippo catches him. Seeing this, the group fears he is gone. But Jose surfaces alive and laughing, announcing the hippo is now hurt, and they must escape immediately. Sistine asks if everyone is ready. The story takes a turn, as Hannah hands out energy bars, and Jose orders everyone to eat while rowing. He has no time to waste. Jose then drops a shocking history lesson on the group. Back in 1910, President Roosevelt approved a plan to farm hippos in Louisiana for their meat. Dion calls him out, noting he led them straight into the hippo's feeding ground. Jose admits he cannot see in the dark and plans to head east only when the sun rises. He has no plan, but Hannah grabs her camera and activates its night vision mode. Giving the group a way to see, she spots something ahead that looks man-made, so the group rows straight for it. The hippo surfaces nearby again, forcing them to sprint for the dock. They scramble to safety just in time. Jose identifies the building as Broussard's farm, an old politician's operation he had mentioned that morning. Hannah proposes using the old gasoline stored there to build a smoke signal for rescue. Jose confirms stale gasoline still burns, so the plan moves forward. Meanwhile, Dion finds import records showing hippos were shipped from Africa in 1912. But the farm failed because hippos simply could not be kept. The group then finds intact cages and hippo skeletons showing at least 3 breeding generations. The hippos outside have been multiplying wild for over 100 years. The fallout begins as Jose fires his last tranquilizer dart at the charging hippo. Hannah orders everyone to scavenge anything burnable and find oil fast. She discovers a hatch leading down to the swamp, but the group refuses. The hippo is still out there. Then Dion and Sistine drag out a heavy barrel that smells like oil. It spills as they move it, soaking the floor. But Hannah says more to burn. She assigns the plan. Sistine lights the fire. Hannah and Dion run for the boat, but Jose stays back to distract the hippo so the others can slip out. The hippo ignores Jose and charges Dion instead, forcing Hannah to slam the door shut. Jose is left inside. Hannah splits the group to confuse the hippo, sending everyone through different exits. Dion draws the hippo toward herself, screaming for Hannah to reach the hatch. Sistine ignites the oil and the farm erupts in flames. Hannah drops through the hatch into the swamp below and injures her leg landing. Jose wants to wait at the cage for the fire to signal rescuers. Hannah refuses and heads for the boat, so Jose stays behind and wishes her luck. Hannah pushes alone through the swamp until a hippo crashes out and attacks her. She holds still and the hippo backs off, searching only for its crying baby nearby. Finally, Hannah reaches the gate where the mother hippo blocks her way. She talks to the animal, telling it her own mother was protective too. The hippo roars and lunges, forcing Hannah back against the metal gate. But then the baby hippo cries out nearby, pulling the mother away. Hannah shoves through the gate and escapes before the hippo turns back. She hears helicopter blades overhead and stops cold. She screams for help, desperate to be spotted before the crew passes. She keeps screaming, but the helicopter does not immediately respond. She cries out again and again, her voice starting to break. Hearing this, the rescue crew finally locks onto her position. Hannah goes still, too exhausted to scream anymore. She closes her eyes, finally safe after everything she survived. The rescue helicopter pulls Hannah out of the swamp. Hannah makes it home, the only survivor of the bayou nightmare.